Hi, welcome to this segment of Flobel Academy. My name is Dan Schneider, and tonight I will be your host. Tonight's guest is advisor Katharine Cullison, who will be speaking about her life in the theater. Katharine is a New York City-based actor and producer. She received her BA in theater at Grinnell College and studied classical American realism at HB Studios with Uta Hagen, Herbert Berghof, Ann Jackson, and Austin Pendleton. Katharine's credits include Sandra in Playing Sinatra, opposite Austin Pendleton, Theater for the New City, a performance of which the New York Times wrote, a complex character given a stellar rendering. She also appeared in Dirty Linen, directed by Edward de Souza, Arts Theater, West End, Rogues and Vagabonds, JW3, London, Rumcake, Trilogy Theater, Off-Broadway, Ways and Means, Spectrum Stage, and numerous productions at HB Playwrights Foundation. Katharine gave voice to the federal theater projects Haley Flanagan, opposite Tin Robbins and Simon Callow, on Art for the Millions for BBC Radio 4 in 2011. Up next, Miss Cullison will be starring in and co-producing the world premiere of Bernard Kopp's The Dark Outside. She has already done a stage reading of the play at the National Portrait Gallery in London, along with her co-star Austin Pendleton. And she is proud once again to be playing opposite her friend and mentor, Austin Pendleton. Without further ado, let's welcome Katharine Cullison.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you here, and it's very exciting. We're now in October of 2021. It's been about 19 months into this current pandemic, which stopped theater around the world for so long. But luckily, it looks like it's starting to come back, especially in New York City, which is probably the cultural capital of the world for many people in theater, along with London, of course. But so things are looking good right now, and you are about to co-star in a new world premiere of a play written by Bernard Kopp, who will be 95 years old this November, and it co-stars Austin Pendleton, and the name of the play is The Dark Outside. So tell us, why this play and why now?
Wow. This is Bernard's latest play. He's been writing, he's a very, very famous playwright from London. He grew up in the East End and has written, numerous plays, novels, 2 autobiographies. He's also a poet. He grew up in the East End with many of the playwrights from the Young Angry Men movement, like Arnold Wesker, Harold Pinter, and he is very, very talented, and I'm just thrilled to be collaborating with him. The Dark Outside is his latest play and probably his most autobiographical play. It's about the family, and it's about the family really, struggling against, all the darkness and chaos in the outside world, as well as each character has their own individual struggles that they're struggling with themselves. But it's also about the importance of the family and keeping the family together when things are hard. And the amazing thing, one of the amazing things about this play is that Bernard actually wrote this before the pandemic, but it really resonated with me and Austin Pendleton as we read through it during the pandemic. So actually, I did a reading. Bernard wrote this play in 2018, and he gave it to me, and he actually told me, I was very honored. He told me he wrote the part of Helen for me, but really, he wrote it in honor of his wife, Erica, and Erica is really his muse, and he's deeply in love with his wife. And so to be playing a character that, for him is really in honor of his wife, I just felt so, I can't even tell you how grateful I felt that he even said that.
That's amazing, amazing honor, amazing honor.
It is an amazing honor. So
tell me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but tell us, how did you first meet Bernard? Tell us, background.
I met Bernard quite a few years ago, actually, in 2005. I went to London when I was in college, and I did an independent study project on the theory and approach to the difference between the American and the British approach to acting. And I interviewed actors and actresses from all plays that we were seeing on the West End about, acting and the difference between the British as opposed to the American approach. And when I interviewed these actors, many of them kind of took me under their wing because they knew I was a young actress, and gave me advice about what to do to become an actress and what to do in my own acting career. And I interviewed amazing people like Prunella Scales, Jessica Tandy. I mean, I was very, very lucky. And one of the people that I interviewed was Warren Mitchell, who sent me to study with Doreen Cannon, who was then the head of the Drama Center, and then very soon after that became the head of acting at RADA. She used to teach a class on Saturday morning for actors, and I started going to her class, and I actually ended up staying in London, and took my second semester off, understudied a part in a play, and continued to study with Doreen. And it's kind of a long story because Doreen actually had studied with Herbert Berghof and Uta Hagen. So then when I ended up coming back to the States to study acting, I then went to study with Uta and Herbert. But Doreen was the first acting teacher to introduce Uta Hagen's method to the British theater. So she was an amazing teacher. And anyway, so many years later, Warren Mitchell, who had done a lot of work for Bernard Kopps, he'd done some of his television plays and other plays, and Bernard was coming to New York to teach a playwriting workshop. So when Bernard came to New York, he called me and he invited me to go to this playwriting workshop and act in the playwriting workshop, and when he met me, he said, "Oh my goodness, you are this character that I wrote called Sandra in Playing Sinatra, and you have to do this play." And I read it, and I just fell in love with the play, and Austin and I did that play together about 6-7 years ago down at Theater for the New City, and it was a wonderful experience. And then I also went to London and did a stage reading of another play that Bernard wrote called Rogues and Vagabonds, which was about the Yiddish theater. And then he gave me this play in 2018. And when the National Portrait Gallery in London decided to do a reading of it, they invited me over to join the cast and do a reading of it there. And when we did this reading in London, actually it was January of 2020. It was just before the pandemic started. And when we did this reading, you know, little did we know how much this play would really continue to resonate, you know, throughout the pandemic.
Wow. Wow.
So,
What a great
yeah.
story. So it's timing is everything, they say. And it sounds like Bernard was prescient in feeling what would be needed in the event of an emergency, a calamity such as the pandemic, where people would have to stay in with their own families and seek strength and courage from their little circles and bubbles. So
Exactly.
yeah, so this sounds like the right place and the right time for this play. And
Yeah, I think it's a very universal play too, because it is about family. And, you know, whether that is your own nuclear family or the family that you've adopted, you know, your family of friends, it's about how important it is to love and accept each other and stay unified, you know, no matter, despite all of our imperfections and all of our struggles, you know, because really every day is another struggle. You know, the pandemic has been a pronounced struggle, and there's so much chaos and so much going on in the world right now that, you know, we're all faced with, really, and need to think about every day. But I think it's just about the importance of love and joy and unity, despite, you know, all the pain and the sadness, you know, how that gives you the strength to carry on, you know.
So you said before, I believe, that this is probably the most autobiographical of all of Bernard's plays that you've read. And so Bernard, he grew up in the East End of London. He's going to be 95 next month. So he was, that means he was born in the late 20s. Did I get my math right?
Yeah, you know, I think he was born in 1926,
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
in the East End, and he actually educated himself in the Whitechapel Library.
oh wow,
Yeah.
self-taught, didactic.
Yes. I mean, he went to school. I don't know how long he went to school for, but he primarily educated himself in the Whitechapel Library. And very often on his birthday, the Whitechapel Library has a big birthday celebration for him, and he reads some of his poetry, or there's always some celebration in London for his birthday. And this play is actually kind of a birthday gift to Bernard, because his 95th birthday will actually be on the day of our last show, on November 28th.
What a great gift. Yeah.
And not only that, the play is about a family and the father, and it's the father's birthday. The family is celebrating the father's birthday.
So it's art imitating
The
life.
father, the character of the father is named Paul, and he's being played by Austin Pendleton, who is just completely embraces this character. And is
So tell us how you met
quite amazing.
Austin. You work with Austin for many years now. Tell us about how you first met Austin and what
Oh,
else you've
well,
done with him.
I came to study with Austin. I guess I've realized that I've known Austin for about 30 years, which is amazing. I think I went to study with Austin about 30 years ago when Herbert Berghof died. And I really missed Herbert. I was also studying with Uta Hagen, who was, you know, there's no teacher that was like Uta, but
She wrote a seminal book on acting, right? I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's called Respect for, she wrote two. One is called The Respect for Acting, and the other is Challenge for the Actor.
Mm.
And as well as she also wrote an amazing cookbook that I use all the time. But anyway, I came to study with Austin when Herbert died, and Austin also studied with Herbert and Uta. So
sounds like a family in and of itself. It's like this.
Yeah, it is kind of we all kind of speak the same language of acting.
And you also have a lineage. It's like a lineage. It's a theatrical lineage. Like you've studied from the people who studied from the people. And there's, a lot of overlap there and tradition. I think it's wonderful. And I think it could teach the younger generation a lot about what they can learn from the older generations and having the importance of having mentors. Because it sounds like you've had some great mentors over time, including Bernard and Austin and Uta and Herbert. So
absolutely, I have been very, very lucky to have wonderful mentors in my career. I can't.
But it's a two-way street. Our foundation does a lot of, we tried to connect people so they could share information and empower each generation to teach the others. But the mentor-student or mentor-protege relationship is really sacred, and it has to be natural, and there has to be a chemistry. You can't force it, and it has to be mutual, because people have to want to be with the other person. It's almost like a marriage.
True.
Yeah.
That is really true. And I had another great mentor of mine was Ann Jackson.
Oh, I remember her.
The actress Ann Jackson. She was so talented. And
so what advice would you give an up and coming young or even older actor on how to find a mentor? I mean, you've done it several times. How do you find the right person to study under or to be your mentor?
Well, I mean, that's a very good question. Well, you have to be curious. You have to really want to learn, for one thing. You have to want to ask the question, not know the answers, and there's so much knowledge and so much strength that you can gain from somebody who knows so much more than you do. And I also think it's very important to have respect. Respect is key. And most great actors who I've known who are also very humble and willing to share what they know when they find somebody who's genuinely interested in learning and appreciates them and what they have to give. I mean, we're all human beings after all, right? But you're right. But I think
I agree. So maybe the advice would be to study the person that you want to be your mentor, so that as much about them as possible.
Also, too, if they're a teacher, to go take their class and see if that person really resonates with you, the way they teach, if they resonate with you and if they inspire you, if you speak the same language, then there's true communication. It's the same thing with Bernard. I mean, Bernard really, he's a great artist, and his writing really, the way he writes, the way he talks, he really speaks to me, and we both feel as though we kind of speak the same language and can communicate with each other on a real level, So you're right. It is a give and take, and it's very, very inspiring, because to me, that's really what art is all about. It's about sharing.
So tell us, what is the difference between American actors and English actors, in your opinion? You've studied both. You've been on both sides of the pond. And I know, for example, Americans much prefer English actors, and they get cast more so than Americans in major motion pictures. You think of any current big stars like Ewan McGregor or fill in the blank. Many of them are English actors. Daniel Craig, the new James Bond. James Bond was always English, right? Except for maybe one time. No, I think it's always been English or somebody from the UK, like Sean Connery was maybe Scottish or Welsh, but it's always somebody from the UK. And some of the best American actors, even comedic actors, are English, even though they pretend to use American accents. They're much better at the accents than we are. Maybe that's it. But no, there's just something about English dramatic actors. They have that that traditional quality, and maybe it's the training and the respect for the craft. I don't know. What do you think? You know more about it than I do.
Well, I think they spend a lot more time on their voices and on their instruments, or they did, or at least traditionally they have, and it's a bit of a different system. You graduate from high school and you go to drama school, and either you get into drama school or you don't. So it's a bit more of a closed system than America, where, I mean, we were all so lucky to be able to go study at HB Studio, though, which was started by Herbert. And, really for actors who, most actors, it's very difficult to be able to afford to study acting too. And when I was a young actor, I really had no money, but yet I could go study at HB for very little, and HB still runs that way. They make it affordable for actors. I mean, I guess drama school is pretty affordable in the UK, but there's no place like HB Studio there. So I don't know. There are differences, I guess. I mean, it used to be, I think, that American actors were more physical and more emotional, and I think they expressed themselves more physically and emotionally, and British actors were more active intellectually and through the words. They really used the words to play an action in a very precise way, in a way that American actors just couldn't, compete. So they were really both good at different things. But now I think they're both American and British actors are doing very much the same thing, actually. You
Well, it's
know.
funny. I watched a comedy last night, a romantic comedy with Hugh Grant was the male lead, and
Mhm.
I just think he's such a great actor, and especially a comedy. And Marissa Tomei was the female lead, and
Mm.
um, and I just enjoy his performances. And then there's Hugh Laurie, who's also a British actor, who is known for his rendition of House, the American doctor, who's always very curmudgeon. And but I didn't know that Hugh Laurie was even English until later on, because he started out as a comedian in England. Just so many talented people, and
Yeah, that's really true. And now that's so true.
yeah. So it's but we have a couple of good actors here too, and actresses, and the schools. Well, is the school paid for by the government? Is it more
Yeah,
accessible
I
than
think it
in
is.
England?
It's subsidized by the government.
Ah,
And but now they accept more international students than they used to. Years
mhm.
ago, they only really accepted like one international student for every class
Wow. So
in
that's
drama
another thing
school.
that's a competitive advantage, because they have the schools that produce these great actors, like such as
Well,
RADA.
also, I think theater is so much more a part of the culture there.
Mhm.
It's just a part of the culture. I mean, they have repertory theater all over the country.
Mm.
People go to everybody, a lot of people go to the theater.
Mhm. And it's affordable, unlike the
It's
United States.
affordable. It's affordable, and it's so much more a part of their life, you know. So I think in England, people grow up being exposed to the theater more than they are here. But
And
I
it's
guess here we're the film capital. I mean, LA is the film capital of
right, as
the
opposed
world.
to
So,
live theater, legit theater, as they call it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So this play is going to be world premiere at the Theater for the New City, which is down.
Right.
It's an off-Broadway house, which is very experimental, I believe, and it's very famous for developing some real cutting edge shows, and it's going to be.
It's right. The artistic director of Theater for the New City is Crystal Fields,
Mhm.
and she will be presenting this show. It's
Sh-
actually Theater for the New City has been there is 50 years old.
Wow,
So it's been around for quite a while.
wow. Is she
And
English? Is she English also, Crystal?
Crystal?
Yeah.
No.
No.
She's American, and actually Austin and Crystal went to, I think it was the Lincoln Center Drama School together years ago.
Oh, wow. So she's a
Yeah,
contemporary of
so they
Austin's.
know each other back from when they were young actors.
Oh, wow. So again,
Yeah.
the pedigree and the
Yes.
yeah, the
Yes.
common history. So wow. So
Yeah.
so besides you and Austin, what other characters are in this play? You said there's a
So
family?
so we're both playing the mother and the father, and then we have three children played by very talented actors. Penny is being played by uh, Kathleen Simmons, and Ben will be played by Jesse McCormick, and Sophie will be played by Brenna Donahue. So anyway, these are all very young, not very young, very talented young actors. And then we have some really exciting designers working on this show. A couple of the designers have done a lot of work on shows with Austin in the past. We have Walt Spangler designing the set, and Keith Parham designing the lights.
Mm.
He's flying in from Chicago to do it, and they've worked a lot together. So it's really going to be it really is going to be an exciting show. It's very exciting. And Jack Serio, who has also assisted Austin on assisted him as a director on a lot of shows, is directing. So it's coming together. We're starting our second week of rehearsal this week.
Oh, congratulations. So
Yeah.
Jack Serio, tell us a little bit about the director, Jack Serio. Where did he go to school? How old is he?
He went to NYU Tisch.
Ah, excellent school. Best New York has.
Yeah. I think he graduated in 2018. So he's young and he's very, very talented. So I'm sure he's going places.
And how about the other actors that play the kids? You know what how old are they? Are they about the same age as Jack?
I think Brenna went to school with Jack and has been in other productions that he's directed. Kathleen Simmons came recommended to me by Roberta Wallach, and they're friends from the Actors Studio. And Jesse McCormick studies down at HB with Austin. So Austin recommended Jesse. So that's how we all.
It sounds sounds very incestuous. Is that how theater usually is?
No. Everybody auditioned. I mean, it was a difficult choice. Actually, there were other actors who auditioned, but that's.
I'm just kidding. You know, family structure, incest. You know, it's a bad joke.
No, it's not. It's not.
But we know that Hollywood is very. What's the word? You know, you have to be connected to somebody to get the role in Hollywood. Usually, you know, it's known for its insider monopolization. But theater is less so. I think theater is more democratic, meaning, you know, it's more open sea, equal opportunity. Maybe because theater is more experimental. You don't have to worry so much that you have hundreds of millions of dollars tied up in a production. You don't need that marquee name. You could do it with up and coming emerging artists. And so
and often, you know, plays are better without stars in them. I mean, sometimes you notice the play more, you know, without a big star in it. I mean,
I think that's what's become bad about Broadway, is that every major production has to have a TV star in order to draw the crowds. So it becomes less about the talent and about the show than about the personality of, you know, I'm going to see, you know, fill in the blank.
Right.
Billy Porter
it's
playing.
become very, very commercialized. Yeah. That's absolutely true.
Which is, I think, one of the arguments for having the whole ecosystem of off-Broadway and off-Broadway and smaller theaters where you could take chances and develop these new plays.
Yes, that's what's really so wonderful about Theater for the New City. You know, Crystal kind of gives everybody the chance to come and develop new plays, you know, which is you know, that's what the theater's all about, is getting out there and developing new work, really. So and she's been doing it for 50 years. Wow. So she's kind of like the public theater of the Lower East Side. You could say. Austin said that the other day to me. I thought that was pretty good, you know.
It sounds like there's a lot to celebrate here. 50th anniversary for the Theater for the New City. You and Austin working together again on a show by Bernard Kopp's, Bernard's 95th birthday coming up, the world
Right.
premiere of this show, and the timing, that this is hopefully will teach us some of the lessons that we've learned during the pandemic, the importance of family, whether it's your natural family or your chosen family, and the importance of being connected, because so many people were socially isolated and still are in some cases because of the pandemic. And I think we all realize that we all long to be social and be with people more than on Zoom. Zoom is okay as a substitute, but it's not the same as in person. Just the way watching a virtual or a hybrid show is okay, but it's not the same as in person, in the room, live theater, which
That's true. There's really no replacement for live theater. Yeah. And we're all very, very excited,
to be
to
back.
be back
Yes.
doing live theater. Yeah.
And it also
it's really exciting.
for New
I
York,
wish that Bernard could be
here in person. Yeah. Or you froze out for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, we could just redo that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the importance of live theater and how especially for New York City, which is the theater capital of the world, along with London, and that so this will be a real coming back celebration, and and also a celebration of Bernard's 95th birthday. Wow! So he's won a lot of awards.
95th birthday.
I don't want to leave this out. That he grew up in the he's best in 2009. The Queen awarded him a civil list pension on the recommendation of Downing Street for his services in literature. The award has been given to England's most important writers and puts Copps in the company of Lord Byron, Wordsworth, and Alfred Lord Tennyson, and he's also the first Jewish recipient of that award. So that's a pretty big deal. And
I think it was Glenda Jackson who recommended him for this award when she was an MP in Parliament.
Oh wow, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and she's right. He really deserves it.
He's
yes.
a lifelong Londoner. It sounds like he grew up there.
Yes, I think the BBC has made I'm not sure if it was if it's a radio show or if I believe it's actually a television show about a television piece about World War II, and Bernard has been on it because he's really one of the last living people who can recount what it was like in the Jewish East End slums, during World War II. Mm. He has amazing, memories of that, and it's informed a lot of his work.
Well, we have an expression in my family that goes, speak British, but think Yiddish. Or is it dress British and think Yiddish? You could use either or.
That's funny. That's really good. But I also wanted to mention that, another thing is that Bernard writes about women so beautifully. He writes family dramas but particularly in this play, he writes about how important, the women are to the family and how important the mother is to the family and keeping the family united. And he has great reverence for, marriage and the family, which I just think are really wonderful values to have, whether that's a traditional or a non-traditional marriage, or, but just the sense of family, but he had a lot of sisters,
Mm,
so he really
that's
knows how to write female characters as well as
he
male
understands
characters.
how they think. Yeah,
Yeah, he understands how they think. It's wonderful to have a male writer who really understands and empathizes with women. Yes. Right.
No, that's important. A good writer
Yeah,
has to empathize and understand the human condition and
absolutely.
and know how to communicate it. So The Dark
Yeah.
Outside is a working class family drama that focuses on the family struggle, both individual and collective, against today's disruptive forces of the man-made world. And the family fights to stay together in spite of the chaotic and dark world crumbling around them. It sounds like the last 19 months in our world. And at the end of the
Mhm.
day, their shared experience of joy and pain is what unites them. And when they can't turn to each other, they find comfort in nature. So, yeah, this is definitely a show, a play for our times. And again, tell us where and when that we could start seeing it. And is there a link for tickets that we could put up in the underneath this video when it gets posted?
Yeah. Well, it's our first preview will be November 6th. So we're playing from November, and our opening night will be November 10th. So basically we're playing from November 6th to November 28th, Wednesday through Sunday. Wednesday through Saturday, we'll have an 8 o'clock show, and on Sundays, we'll have a 3 o'clock show. And yes, we will have a link on our website. We do have a link on our website
And what
to
is the
buy
website?
tickets.
What's the website?
It's called thedarkoutsidenyc.com. And also, if you go to Theater for the New Cities website, you can buy tickets as well. Yeah.
Well, excellent. Well, everybody should go out and buy their tickets now because it's going to sell out. I assure you, as soon as the reviews come in, this is going to be the hottest ticket. This is going to be harder to get than Hamilton. It's going to be, the hottest, harder than Harry Potter, another British guy. But it's going to be the best ticket in town, and co-starring Katharine Cullison and Austin Pendleton. So you get to see them in their real element, in a real theater, in real time. And I am so looking forward to seeing this show and seeing you again back in action. I saw Playing Sinatra when it was there last time with you in Austin. I still remember it. I happen to be a big Sinatra fan myself. And but the show was really not about Sinatra. It was about a family. It was about the dynamic between a brother and a sister. And so similar themes. And I think, the family is a universal archetype that everybody could relate to. And I think we all realize how lucky we are if we have family, and how we can go back to them in times of need and struggle, including pandemics when we're
Yeah.
all socially isolated.
And he also does write about the importance of nature too. And one of the characters I forgot to mention is a tree, a 400-year-old mulberry bush that the family goes to talk to. Each member, well, at least 4 members of the family go to talk to, because the tree, really restores their also their strength and gives them calm, and so it's also about the healing powers of nature, which I think we also came to appreciate even more during the pandemic.
Yeah, get to go on a walk in the park and see nature, and remind you that that this too shall pass, that the birds and the trees will be here and have been here before we were and after we'll be here. So,
Mhm.
and the tree is also very much a metaphor for the family. I think they have family trees, when you have to file a
Exactly.
probate petition, or you have to file a family tree and see which branch you're on. And So yeah, there's a lot of metaphors there. And by the way, talking to trees is a very Jewish thing. In fact,
Oh,
we have an annual New Year for the trees, like an Arbor Day, and it's called Tu B'Shvat. And
oh,
so I had a Hebrew school teacher when I was young her name was Mrs. Endy. I'll never forget it. She was from Israel. And she used to tell us that it's good to talk to the trees. And so we used to make fun of her. Talk to the trees. What are you crazy? How young people could be. But in fact, now that I'm older, I sometimes talk to the trees, and they also, the science has shown that they take care of each other like a family. Certain types of trees, particularly in Northern California, their roots will grow together and they will protect each other from diseases. So
wow.
the new science is showing that trees in particular, have a sort of a conscience even,
Mhm,
they're aware and they're social. So I
mhm.
love the fact that one of the characters is a tree. So that's great.
Yes,
Do they have any
yeah.
lines? Does the tree have any lines, or I have to come to the show to find out?
No, the tree listens. The
Oh,
tree listens,
unlike
which
me.
is which is very important.
So the tree is like a psychiatrist. It listens, right? Yeah. But you don't have
Hmm.
to pay it. You don't have to pay the tree. See, that's why my Hebrew school teacher liked talking to the tree. She didn't want to have to pay the psychiatrist.
Yeah, and the tree is always there
Mm,
and always your friend.
mm.
Just like nature is. If you
Leaving that, yeah.
appreciate it and take care of it,
Mhm.
it can be very restorative. Yes, that's
Yeah,
so true.
yeah, no, and now another relevant thing given climate change and all the forests
Exactly.
that are burning down all around us, and the natural disasters which are increasing in frequency all the time. So wow, it sounds like this show this has a lot to offer for anybody who's interested, and I wish you a happy healthy run of the show, and I hope it goes on to other formats and other bigger stages and long runs and all kinds of awards, which I think you'll get.
Oh, thank you, Danny. Thank you. Thank you for having me,
Yes, well, thank you.
on to talk about it.
Yeah, well, thank
Yeah.
you for being on it. And yeah, one more thing, because it is Flobel Academy. So what would you recommend for a new actor of any age to how you get involved is in acting? Not everybody is made to be an actor. Sometimes, you think you want to be an actor because you want to be famous. That's not a good motivation, because only a very small percentage actually make a living, let alone become famous. So what advice would you give to the novice or the newcomer who wants to test the waters and see if they have any talent? Is there a path that you would recommend to start off slow?
Well, I would say take a class.
At
Take
HB,
a
at HB.
take at HB, exactly. Take a class at HB and find out if it's really your passion,
Mhm,
because it absolutely needs to be your passion,
mhm,
you know, because it's not easy to be an actor, and you have to really love it. You have to be really committed to it. But the thing about acting is, if you do love acting, it's always a part of yourself and it never leaves you. Ann Jackson used to tell me, I'll never forget, she used to say, you can choose to be a wife and you can choose to be a mother, but you can't choose to be an actor.
mm.
You are an actor. And whether you're doing it or not, you're always going to be an actor. So the thing about, if you really have that passion, even when you're not doing it, you have to live with the fact that you have this passion that you're not using. you know it's really a part of yourself, and you should, and I do urge everybody, if you feel as though it's a part of yourself, to explore that part of yourself, because, you know, if you are meant to act, it really makes you feel whole, you know, and some people, you know, think they want to be an actor, but then they realize that actually they really love being a stage manager.
Mhm.
Or you know, they love doing lights. I mean, there's so many different aspects to the theater. Not everybody.
Or a director, right?
Or a director, exactly.
Or a writer.
Exactly. Or a writer.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many different forms of expression in theater.
Or an agent.
Or an agent. Yes, exactly.
Or an
So
attorney. No, don't become an attorney, whatever you do.
So just, you know, open yourself up and think of all the possibilities.
Well, that's great advice.
You know,
Great
say
advice.
yes to yourself. Yes, I can do it. I am doing it.
That's
what
great
I would
advice.
say.
Well, thank you so much, Katharine Cullison. It's been wonderful interviewing you. I can't wait to see the show, and onward and upward, and all good things to you and yours. And thank you for being our guest here today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Danny. Thank you so much. It's always good to talk to you.